So let's look at the statistics. The United States is home to 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners. Think about that.
1 out of 4 human beings with their hands on bars, shackled, in the world, are locked up here in the land of the free.
Mass incarceration means that we've got a very high rate of incarceration, historically, comparatively. And the other thing is the rate of incarceration is so high, so socially concentrated, that we're no longer incarcerating the individual, but we're incarcerating whole social groups.
Well, we send people to prison to be punished and to prevent them from doing bad things again and to deter others from breaking the law. Punishment, corrections, and deterrence. We have the highest incarceration rate in the world. Over the last 30 years, that number has skyrocketed, increasing over 400%. 41% of American juveniles and young adults have been arrested by the time they turn 23. Children as young as 13 years old have been sentenced to die in prison.
Our prison population has exploded for a number of reasons, from the dismantling of our mental health system to mandatory minimum sentence laws, which help explain why 97% of people plead guilty to federal crimes rather than risk going to trial, to, of course, drugs.
Mass incarceration is not the result of more violent crimes being committed. It is the result of disproportionate drug sentences and the criminalization of non-violent crimes.
Partisan leaders, America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
We intend to end the drug menace and to eliminate this dark, evil enemy within.
Put them away where they belong.
3 strikes and you are...
Our drug laws, or war on drugs, is largely to blame for mass incarceration. The war was waged in the early 70s and has raged on ever since.
In 1986, Congress passed a sprawling criminal justice bill, a central feature of which was a mandatory sentencing disparity punishing crack violations much more harshly than those for powder cocaine. That difference has had catastrophically racially disparate effects.
80% of the crack defendants were African American.
These effects have prompted critics to decry excessive crack minimums as purely the products of Reagan-era white supremacy.
Whites make up 64% of the total population, but only 31% of the incarcerated population. Blacks represent 14% of society, but 36% of the prison population. Hispanics are 16% of America, but 24% of the American prison population.
While white kids are more likely to abuse drugs, black kids are 10 times more likely to get arrested.
A study has found that African Americans have been sent to prison for drug offences at up to 10 times the rate, for some utterly known reason.
Drug use hasn't gone down, it's gone up.
Boy that's walking the way, he better come back! He better come back!
Drugs are cheaper and more plentiful now than ever before.
I don't think the current law can be defended.
Too many people in jail that don't need to be there. According to some estimates, the homicide rate in the US is 25 to 75% higher because of the war on drugs.
I believe it is in the interest of...
Here, today's prisoners are tomorrow's neighbors, so corrections should probably be the most important piece of the incarceration pie. Unfortunately, it is not.
Extraordinary numbers of people are in prison because of drugs, yet it is not a place to get drug treatment. They come out, and then we're surprised that we have the highest recidivism rates, and that results in this cycle of incarceration and overcrowding.
We've chosen prison as a way to respond to that problem of crime. And there are a whole variety of ways that we could have chosen to respond to that problem of crime. We've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty, and we've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty for a historically aggrieved group whose liberty in the United States was never firmly established to begin with.
Convicts are ineligible for welfare, student loans, public housing, food stamps, and are often socially disconnected from community and family support structures. So in addition to having high recidivism rates, they have very high rates of homelessness and suicide. Somewhere along the way, we started to think that being tough on crime meant being tough on criminals, but that's not the same thing. Punishment is only one piece of a much larger crime reduction pie. The policy seems to be if you've committed a felony, we just give up on you. These wars on crime, wars on drugs, they are wars on people. The smart political move is to appear tough on crime because crime is scary, so we increased minimum sentences, we arrested more people, we sent more of them to prison. That's how we looked tough on crime, but the results are in. It's bad policy. It's cruel, it's short-sighted, and to continue this policy of mass incarceration would be foolish. We're living inside of a massive $75 billion per year failed experiment.
If anything ever gonna be done about this, this is gonna change. It's gonna have to come from the people out there. Gonna have to help. You know, we can't do it from here.